The sun over Sunspear lay molten and low, sheathing the water gardens in an orange shimmer that made the pools look like slabs of bronze. Oberyn Nimrose Martell stood barefoot upon the warm tiles of the upper gallery, hands light upon the balustrade, eyes wandering from the distant green of the summer sea to the curling fronds of palm below. His daughter's laughter drifted up, Obara's sharp bark, Nymeria's throaty contralto, Tyene's silver bell giggles, and for a moment he let the sound soak his soul. But peace, though pleasant, tasted thin upon his tongue. There was too much blood singing in his veins, too many ghosts prowling the corridors of memory. A messenger waited in the shadows behind him, one of Prince Doran's quiet men. Sandy wind had crusted on the boy's cheeks, his cloak heavy with road dust. He bowed when Oberyn turned, holding out the little cylinder of varnished weirwood sealed in dark red wax. No sigil adorned the lump of wax, only a smooth thumbprint, deliberate in its anonymity. Oberyn cracked it with a nail and slid free the parchment. For lines of small, meticulous script stared up at him, penned in maester's cipher yet punctuated by flourishes too ornate for any maester chained to the citadel. He read the words once, then again more slowly. The dragon's rose bore a winter flower. Ned Stark's bastard is no bastard. Ice hides fire upon the wall. The truth will shatter mountains. Oberyn's breath left him in a soft hiss, the hiss of a spear's point-kissing sand. He folded the parchment, tucked it beneath the sash at his waist, and dismissed the messenger with a nod. The boy vanished into shadow like a swallowed secret. "Ilaria?" Oberyn called, and the woman drifted from a colonnade of pale marble, silk robes billowing in the warm dusk. Her amber eyes, ever alert, found his face and narrowed. She knew that look, the coiling tension before battle, the hush of desert wind before a sandstorm. "Another invitation to King's Landing?" she asked wryly, though the music of her voice quivered. "Of a sort," Oberyn replied. He turned again to the gardens, watching Obara vault from the low wall into a pool, scattering sunlight like shattered glass. "Viper's venom seeks a road, and the road lies north." Ilaria joined him, sliding an arm around his waist. "What stirs your blood this eve?" "A rumor." A single finger tapped the sash where the parchment lay. "Whispers that Rhaegar's seed did not perish upon the trident, nor upon the red tower of death. That the boy in black, sworn to snow and ice, is the child of our princess." Ilaria's breath caught. Lyanna Stark? She had heard the tale. All of Dorne had. She was said to have died in his arms. So the songs sing. Oberyn's eyes glinted. But songs are nets woven from lies and longing. What if Rhaegar's legacy dangles not in a grave of roses and blood but breathes still, wrapped in wolf's skin? He watched Ilaria's face distort. Fear, wonder, calculation flickering like candlelight. "Why come to you with this secret? Why now?" "Because I alone ride to King's Landing with spear in hand, sworn to champion the dwarf's cause. Because I alone shall stand before the mountain." His voice darkened. "Someone, somewhere, wants the truth known before I strike." Ilaria's fingers dug into his side. "You would carry this into the lion's den? The Red Keep is a pit. The Lannisters will rip you apart if they sense advantage. Let them try." Oberyn's smile was sunlight on steel. "But I will not go witless. If this bastard, this Jon Snow, is truly Rhaegar's son, then he is of my blood as much as of Stark's. Elaya's nephew, my nephew, that changes everything." Ilaria's gaze swept the horizon, as though searching for answers among crimson clouds. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow with dawn." He bent, kissed her temple. "Send ravens to my brother by vow at the wall. Old Corrin, though he may be in the field, know, best to the Lord Commander, and to Maester Aemon, whose wisdom of dragons is older than stone. If they know aught of Jon Snow's birth, they will read my questions in the feathers." Ilaria sighed. "Words may fly swifter than spears, but spears are clearer. Spears I have in plenty." He squeezed her hand, then strode away to rouse his retinue. Night would soon paint the sky in purple bruises, and he had blades to hone, horses to saddle, daughters to half forbid from following him. War, quiet, unseen war, unfolded its wings on the hot Dornish wind. They rode out under a quilt of stars, 30 strong. Oberyn at their head in reddish leather, his daughters flanking with spear and whip, a coterie of mounted spearmen, and 3 silent sandsteeds laden with sealed chests. The Dornish road to the prince's pass hummed with cicadas. The air smelled of sage and parched soil. The bite of travel, the thrum of hooves. Each rhythmic pulse soothed the prince's restless fury. Yet beneath the calm he measured the parchment's revelations, turning them upon the whetstone of reason. Was Jon Snow truly Rhaegar's? So who knew? Who sought to arm him with that blade of knowledge? And to what end? At Santagar's water tower he met Ser Demon Sand, who offered fresh horses and a keg of lemon water. Over the sweet drink Oberyn prodded. What tales of bastards swirl through these lands, demon? Northern bastards. Ser Demon, though a bastard himself, laughed. Only that they are made like all bastards, in beds too warm and hearts too weak. He sobered at Oberyn's silent stare, sensing deeper hunt. I have heard songs of a snowborn son at Winterfell. Rhaegar's?
No.
He shook his head. That boy's gaze is all ice. They say no flash of dragonfire. Why ask? For the sake of ghosts, muttered Oberyn, draining the cup. At Kingsgrave the party took on fresh cloaks embroidered with Martell spears to announce their princely passage. Oberyn refused the carriage offered. I prefer the feel of wind upon my face, and pressed on. Ellaria rode at his left, Tyene at his right, her golden braid flicking in the breeze like a banner. Obara scouted ahead, whip coiled, searching for rumors in every tavern yard. Nymeria kept ledger of coin and supply, her quill scribbling as steady as a drummer's beat. On the third night, a raven swooped from the dark, pale beak clacking at Tyene's glove. She freed the parchment. Maester Aemon's trembling script listed Jon Snow's virtues: honor, courage, humble command, and ended in a cryptic benediction. A dragon's egg in a snowdrift may yet hatch. Nothing of lineage, not outright, but enough for Oberyn to taste fire under frost. He tucked the letter with the weirwood scroll. The wall itself stood a month's ride away. He had neither the time nor the inclination to climb the frozen spine. Yet the secret gnawed him. He pictured a young man clad in black, face shadowed beneath dark curls, wielding a sword named for sorrow. Ned Stark's bastard, the realm presumed. But Rhaegar's? Could the boy carry Targaryen blood unknowing, exiled to ice while Lannisters preened upon a stolen throne? The injustice stoked old grief. Elia, her babe Aegon dashed against a wall, her babe Rhaenys stabbed amid feathers. Rhaegar, noble fool, undone. If Jon Snow lived, some ember of Elia's blood still burned in the world. To protect that ember, Oberyn would gladly set fire to mountains. King's Landing festered beneath a haze of early summer heat, the stink of fish guts thick around the old King's Gate. Oberyn's party clattered through streets slick with dung and spilled ale, banners snapping. Cries followed them. The Red Viper! Dorne has come! Mingled with hisses from Lannister loyalists. At the Red Keep stables he swung down, dust glittering on his scarred calves. A dwarf in fine linens limped forth, Tyrion Lannister, eyes like mismatched topaz and obsidian. He sketched a bow more sardonic than courteous. "My prince," said Tyrion, "your presence is balm and peril both. I assume you come to champion my cause." Oberyn caught the dwarf's gaze. "I come for many causes, Lion, one of which is truth. Perhaps we may trade favors as men trade wine." Tyrion gestured toward the stone steps. "Let us drink first. In King's Landing, wine flows freer than honesty, but both have their price." Ellaria, trailing, flashed a wary smile at the imp Tyene, whispered something in Dornish that made Nymeria snort. Oberyn climbed, spear slung across his back. Within the tower, flickering torches breathed smoke. He felt the Red Keep's pulse, seething ambition, rusted iron, secrets in every niche. Somewhere in those halls an albino mountain paced, awaiting trial by combat. Somewhere deeper, a spider wove webs of rumor, and perhaps within those webs perched the truth of Jon Snow's birth. They settled in Tyrion's solar, flanked by guards sworn to Martell and a single old Sellsword sworn to the dwarf. Tyrion poured dark arbor red. Oberyn swirled the cup, inhaling plums and oak. "You have questions," said Tyrion. "I have troubles of my own, but curiosity may distract from dread." Oberyn leaned forward, voice low. "Tell me of Eddard Stark's bastard." Tyrion blinked. "In what regard?" "I met the boy at the wall. Solemn, diffident, more Stark than Stark." "Yet not Ned Stark's?" Oberyn watched the dwarf's face. "I know only rumor." Tyrion sipped. "They say he is the blood of some tavern wench Ned bedded in Robert's rebellion. But Ned never spoke of the woman, and Robert mocked him for it." "Robert mocked Ned for honor, not for bastardy," Oberyn corrected softly. He drummed fingers on the table. "If the boy were not Ned's but another's, what then?" Tyrion's brows rose. "You chase a curious hare, my prince. Why does Dornish spear care about a boy on the wall?" "Because my sister's children died screaming while the boy lives." Oberyn's smile was a razor. "Because blood debts must be tallied with truth." Tyrion studied him. "If you seek to claim kinship, I fear you will need more than whispers. King's Landing devours unproven claims as crows devour corpses." "Then let us find proof." Oberyn drained his cup. "I would speak with your spymaster." "Varys." Tyrion grimaced. "The spider speaks only when it suits him." "Then we shall make it suit him." They met in the black of night upon a narrow bridge overlooking the dry moat. Varys stepped from gloom like a pale moth, silk slippers soundless. "Tisk, tiskay, my dear lords," he cooed. "Plotting beneath the queen's nose is ever so perilous." Oberyn eyed him. "A quiet peril suits me." Varys's lips curved. "So I've heard. The mountain wears many scars of your making." "Not enough." "Soon remedied, I think." The eunuch's eyes flicked to Tyrion, then back. "I sense you wish to know of wolves and roses." Oberyn produced the weirwood parchment. "This message found me in Sunspear. Was it yours?" Varys touched a silken sleeve. "I do send many birds into many skies, but words fly further when they know their destination." Oberyn advanced a step. "Why tell me?" "Because secrets kept too long rot into horrors. Because balance in the realm is fragile as a lute string." Varys's voice lowered, as if the stones themselves might eavesdrop. "I served Prince Rhaegar once in my own fashion. If his line endures, it may yet heal what was broken." "And you would set that line against the Lannisters," Oberyn guessed. "I would set it where it belongs, upon the Iron Throne." Tyrion exhaled through teeth. "So the bastard truly?" "Not a bastard." Varys opened a palm. "Hidden by Eddard Stark to shield him from Robert's fury. His name at birth was Aemon Targaryen, after the Dragon Knight. But the realm must not know until the realm is ready." Oberyn's pulse thundered. "Elaya's blood?" Varys bowed his head. "Lyanna Stark's womb bore him, but Rhaegar's seed. Your sister's children were trueborn of lawful marriage. The boy is woven of love and prophecy. He carries fire and ice, sun and snow." Oberyn closed his eyes. The world tilted. "Elia, sweet sister, your line is not ended, not holy." Breath entered his lungs like flame. "What would you have of me?" he asked. "Survive the duel," Varys said simply.
Eslai ser Gregor Clegane.
"Expose the mountain's crimes. Then ride back to Dorne and guard the secret until the boy is ready." "Guard?" Oberyn laughed, thin and deadly. "I would proclaim him. March south from the wall with banners of Sunspear and Dragon." "Too soon." Varys's voice tightened. "Daenerys across the narrow sea breeds dragons of her own. When ice meets fire, the world will need both halves united." Oberyn considered, spearing the eunuch with amber gaze. Finally he nodded. "Very well. I will carry your secret, spider. But if I fall, the truth dies with me. Then you must not fall." Varys stepped back into shadow. "Prince Oberyn, The realm's hope rides upon your spear. The eunuch vanished in a whisper of silk. Tyrion spat over the rail. Hope, dagger in the dark. Sometimes I loathe this city. Oberyn's hand closed upon the spear haft-bound to his back. I have new purpose, he murmured. The mountain will die screaming, but not for Elia alone. For Aemon Targaryen, hidden in snow. Word spread swift as wildfire. Prince Oberyn Martell would champion Tyrion Lannister on the morrow. Crowds thickened in the alleys. Lannister red mixing with Martell orange in uneasy dance. Oberyn spent the night sleepless, oiling his spear, whispering to its blade. Ellaria entered their chamber near dawn, hair loose, eyes rimmed with red. She knelt, pressing her forehead to his shoulder. "If you die," she murmured, "let them bury me with you. I do not plan to die." He traced a fingertip along her cheek. "Too many debts unpaid. Debts multiply." Ellaria lifted the spear, examining the polished steel. "In Dorne we teach that vengeance is a waterless well. Drink once, thirst twice." Oberyn smiled, though his chest ached. "Perhaps, but this water tastes of justice." She kissed him, salt and tears, then helped him fasten the scaled leather. Tyene braided his hair in coils tight as snakes, threading a crimson ribbon through. Obara strapped daggers to his calf, Nymeria to his forearm. Each daughter touched his spear's shaft, silent benediction. Down in the dragon pit, the sand ring glimmered pale. Above, thousands roared, "Viper! Mountain!" Drums hammered a heartbeat. Banners whipped. Cersei Lannister sat frost-lipped beneath a gilded canopy. Prince Doran, swollen of joint, observed from a chair of wheeled oak. Tywin Lannister watched with statuesque disdain, fingers drumming his golden lion-headed cane. The mountain emerged first, a tower of iron and hate, helm shaped like snarling hound. Oberyn stepped forth barefoot, spear whirling, sunlight dancing on its obsidian inlays. The arena fell to hush. His voice rang out strong.
Ser Gregor.
"You raped my sister. You murdered her. You killed her children. Now tell me, who gave you the order?" The mountain answered with silence and steel, raising sword. Oberyn circled, spear point weaving a lazy figure eight. He felt the weight of secrets within him. Rhaegar's song, Jon Snow's hidden name, Elaya's unborn voice. Every step measured wrath and restraint. He needed to survive, not for vengeance alone. For the boy in black upon the wall. He danced. Spear flashed, nicked armor. He danced again. Left, back, forward, pricking flesh beneath the giant's pauldron. Crowds gasped when blood welled. Obara screamed encouragement. Tyene prayed. Ellaria clasped hands white, but the mountain's sword carved arcs of death. Once, twice, Oberyn slid beneath, sand sprang. He felt the whoosh across his scalp, the shimmer of almost. His heart hammered drums. "Say her name!" he shouted, fury riding each word. "Elia of Dorne." The mountain lunged, sweeping downward. Oberyn rolled, spear gouging the brute's thigh. More blood, thicker. The giant slowed, breathing ragged. Oberyn glimpsed Cersei's face, terror in green eyes. He pressed, jabbing knee, elbow, armpit. Armor plates rang like desperate bells. He needed only one opening, a gap at helm's visor. He feinted left, twirled, then thrust. The spear point slid past the mountain sword, struck the slit. Crunch. Gregor reeled, but Oberyn's triumph reared heady and near fatal. He heard Varys's whisper, "Survive." So instead of closing, instead of pressing for confession, he danced back, kept distance, denied the mountain his grasp. Blood flooded from helm mouth. Gregor staggered, swung blind. Oberyn slashed tendon behind knee. With groan, the mountain knelt. Sand swallowed steel. Oberyn approached warily, spear poised. "Her name," he hissed. The mountain gurgled, crimson spray. Once more Oberyn stabbed through visor deep. The giant crashed face first. Silence shattered into thunderous roar. Oberyn placed boot upon armored chest. "Her name was Elia Martell," he told the world. Then he pivoted, raising spear to sky. The crimson ribbon fluttered. He was alive. That night, King's Landing burned wine in celebration. Singers hailed the viper. Common folk whispered fearfully of Dornish revenge. Tywin's jaw set like granite. Cersei locked herself in Maegor's holdfast. Tyrion sent cask after cask to Oberyn's chambers. But Oberyn drank lightly. Ellaria sprawled beside him, tracing scorpion tattoos upon his ribs. "You lived," she breathed. "Until the next dance," he answered. His mind already roamed north, past moor and frost to the wall. He imagined a raven alighting upon Jon Snow's glove, bearing news of a prince in sandals who slew a monster in his name. Jon would not understand yet. No matter, the seed of truth was planted, and whatever winter came, it would grow. Ellaria's eyes closed. "Will you bring him south?" "In time." Oberyn stroked her hair. "When dragons fly and ice cracks. When debt is paid and blood redeemed." Beyond the shutter, the bells of the great September tolled midnight. Oberyn Martell breathed deep of jasmine and distant smoke, tasting the sweetness of vengeance fulfilled and the bitter tang of duty yet unborn. In the quiet between bells, he dreamed of a boy with a sword of sorrow, and of a world birthed anew from the ashes of ancient wrongs. Dawn seeped through the slits of Tyrion's tower, turning the stale air a faint rose gold. Salt from the Blackwater clung to the walls and mingled with the heady reek of spilled arbor red, sweat, and the faint iron tang of Ser Gregor's blood that still stained Oberyn's memory. He sat cross-legged on the rush-strewn floor, back to the stone, eyes half-lidded, tracing idle circles on the blade of his spear with a whetstone. Ellaria snored softly on the feather mattress, one honey-brown arm thrown across rumpled sheets, but Oberyn could not rest. Sleep felt like surrender, and he had surrendered enough in his life. Sisters, nieces, nephews, a city, a kingdom, trust. Not again. A soft rap sounded. 3 taps, a pause, then 2 Varys' code from the night before. Oberyn eased to his feet. When he cracked the door, a parchment pouch rested on the threshold. No courier in sight. He crouched, collected it, closed the door, and slipped the thong. Inside lay a single strip of vellum penned in a flowing, delicate hand that smelled faintly of myrrh. "The wolf will soon howl. The boy with the crow's shadow has been told only that his father loved fiercely. He will seek the rest of the tale, a friend of the realm."
No signature, no sigil.
But Oberyn recognized Maester Aemon's tempered syntax hidden beneath the flourish. The old man at the wall had answered. Jon Snow, Aemon Targaryen, had been nudged toward the first gate of truth. How the boy would react remained a mystery, but at least the seed had sprouted. Oberyn pressed the strip against his lips in silent benediction, then fed it to the coals. Flame curled, devouring ink and oath alike. He turned to Ellaria's sleeping form. Soon they would leave this viper's nest, but one task remained. The throne room swam with banners and the chatter of courtiers when Oberyn entered at midday. Sunlight knifed through high windows, coloring the floor in shards of scarlet and gold. King Tommen, 9 years old and swaying with the weight of a crown too large, perched upon the iron seat, flanked by Queen Cersei, her face a mask of maternal devotion set atop seething fury. Prince Doran had sent a pillow for the king's feet, so they might reach the ground and feel they belong. Yet the household knights had removed it, deeming it unseemly. Tommen's heels dangled. Tyrion stood at the foot of the dais, wrists unchained, purple bruises blossoming beneath his collar. Near him brooded Tywin Lannister and Grand Maester Pycelle, as if stone lions might cage a dwarf's liberty through presence alone. At the room's far western archway, a pale, silent Jaime Lannister leaned on a golden cane, left hand gloved in soft kitskin to hide the stump. All eyes swung to Oberyn as he strode forward, spear reversed, haft resting across his shoulders, arms draped along it like wings. The hush that followed rang louder than bells. "My good lords," he announced, voice smooth, "and fair queen, I come to swear that justice has been served in my duel with Ser Gregor Clegane, and to settle matters of recompense." Tywin's green gaze hardened. Ser Gregor yet clings to life, he said, words clipped. Qyburn's art may still. Spare me the necromancy. Oberyn halted at Tyrion's side. The mountain is finished, whether in a week or a moon. No alchemist's leech shall cleanse that poison I placed in his veins. Cersei's knuckles whitened on the armrest. Tommen looked like a boy trapped in a story too dreadful to follow. Jaime's shoulders sagged. Grand Maester Pycelle coughed like a dying stag. We can neither acknowledge nor condone the use of poise. Call it what you will, Oberyn cut in, smiling thinly. In Dorne we name it Red Kiss. A coward's tool perhaps, if slipped unseen, but I declared it before the dance. Ser Gregor chose the steps. Tyrion cleared his throat. If my champion stands accused of dishonor, the crown must weigh the same charge against Ser Gregor, who slew infants in my sister's name. The hall rippled with murmurs, Lannister crimson intermingling with the Martell orange of Oberyn's doublet like a bruise. Tywin lifted one hand. Silence fell. The duel is decided, declared the hand of the king. The gods have judged. Tyrion Lannister is free of accusations regarding King Joffrey's death. Prince Oberyn is absolved of malice aforethought while acting as his champion. Tyrion bowed with mocking grace. Gracious as ever, father. Oberyn tilted his head. One debt remains, he said, for the children of Elia. Gold may soothe our anger, though no coin raises the dead. Dorne will expect reparations. Cersei opened her mouth. Tywin forestalled her with a lifted index finger. The crown will negotiate recompense with Prince Doran. His nostrils flared. Let us speak of numbers in a more private forum. Oberyn nodded. Numbers we can barter. But know this, if another baby dies by Lannister hand, no amount of your gold shall buy peace. He pivoted smoothly, robe swirling, and guided Tyrion away. Behind them the Iron Throne glimmered like a nest of razors under Tommen's dangling feet. That afternoon Oberyn and Tyrion sat in the gardens of Maegor's Holdfast beneath drooping purple wisteria. A fountain whispered, its sound masking the drone of buzzing flies. Oberyn poured sweet Dornish wine into 2 cups. This city will boil once we depart, he said quietly. The queen thirsts for vengeance she cannot taste. Tyrion rubbed the knot at his neck. Let her stew. I intend to leave King's Landing tonight, smuggled onto a ship bound for Pentos. He lifted the goblet. My thanks for saving my neck. Twice over, truly. Oberyn studied the dwarf's mismatched eyes. You could come to Sunspear, he offered. Doran admires cunning men who read the board beneath the game. Tempting, Tyrion admitted, but Essos is far, and my debts to magisters may be smaller than those to my sister. He gulped wine. Will you head south at once? For now. Oberyn's gaze drifted to the squat red roof of the Tower of the Hand in the near distance. Dorne requires my spear, but the day will come when I ride north. To the wall. Oberyn nodded. Someone must teach the boy to dance. Tyrion laughed despite the bruise of memory. Jon Snow always wished he'd had a proper swordmaster. Instead, he had me offering bookish counsel by a fire pit. Counsel can be steel. Oberyn raised his cup. To counsel, then. They drank. Night fell quick as a thief. In a stableyard behind the Street of Flower, a ragged hood concealed Oberyn's glossy braid. Ilaria stood with him, leather satchel slung over one shoulder. Eyes shining as torchlight danced along her lashes. Doran's ship lies at anchor, she whispered. Sea Snake's daughter. Captain Nunya swore he could slip us past the chain at first tide. She looked back toward the red keep rising crooked against moonlight. Will you take the dwarf's skiff? He sails east. We sail south. Oberyn clasped her hand. All roads will cross again. Obara and Nymeria emerged, horses saddled. Tyene carried a cage of ravens bound for Sunspear's rookery. They moved like shadows, the 4 of them, princess and sand snakes, Martell and bastards, each with the lethal grace of a desert cat. No banners, Oberyn ordered quietly. No trumpets. We slip away like midnight wind. Obara grinned. Wind with a bite. They rode through the gate of the gods at the 12th hour. Fog clung to the city's shoulders, muffling hooves on cobble. The Blackwater's tide hissed beneath the causeway. On the far bank lanterns shone aboard galleys, but the Martells wound south into the dark, bound for the Kingswood Road. An hour into the journey, Oberyn's ears caught a distant drumming. Hooves on hardpan, rapid. He signaled a halt. Tyene slipped from her saddle, darted into a stand of pines, and reappeared minutes later guiding a panting, lantern-lit horse. Tyrion Lannister hunched in the saddle, cloak torn, face flushed. "Apologies," he wheezed. "My skiff was compromised. Cersei's spies. Seems I misjudged my sister's capacity for nightly vigilance." Oberyn scowled, then laughed. "You ride like a sack of turnips. I'm built like one." Tyrion slid down, knees shaking. "I implore sanctuary, Prince. If you can spirit me as far as Storm's End, I'll find new passage." Elaria tossed him a water skin. "If you can keep pace." He drank deep, wheezing. "For freedom I shall grow wings." They pressed on. 5 days later, at a lonely inn called the Whistling Fish perched atop a chalk bluff above the Windwater, the Martell party gathered in a private room reeking of boiled onions. A storm battered shutters. Thunder rolled across shingles. Tyrion perched on a barrel, carving a wedge of cheese. "Word from King's Landing?" he asked. Nymeria unrolled a damp parchment. "Lord Varys writes that Queen Cersei has declared you guilty of treason for conspiring with Prince Oberyn to poison Ser Gregor." She raised an eyebrow. "Rewards for your capture? 50,000 gold dragons? Or proof of death?" Tyrion whistled low. "Twice Joffrey's bounty on my head. I feel honored." Obara slammed dagger to table. "Let the bitch place a higher price. I will feed her the blade for less." Elaria frowned. "Cersei is more dangerous, desperate. We must outrun her message to the Stormlands." Oberyn sipped mulled wine, gaze fixed on lightning beyond cracked shutters. "Let her chase phantoms." He unfurled a second parchment. Prince Doran's cipher, delivered via Raven to an outpost near the Windwater. "Rumor of your survival warms Dorne like morning sun. Small folk sing of the Viper's victory and the Lannister giant's downfall. The Queen will seek your head. The Hand will bargain. Return with haste."
D.
Oberyn folded it, breathed slow. "When we reach Sunspear, the game begins anew. Tywin will send envoys. Gold will flow. Apologies will drip like syrup. But we must decide if we deal." Tyrion smirked. "And you trust my father's word as one trusts a scorpion's smile?" "I trust nothing that bleeds gold." Oberyn pushed to his feet. "But I will listen. If Tywin wishes peace, he must buy it with more than coin." Tyene tilted her head. "With the boy, perhaps?" "Exactly." Oberyn's eyes gleamed. "Jon Snow is the key. A Targaryen hidden in the north may shift every alliance. Tywin will not trade him freely, but the threat of revealing the truth may bend him." Tyrion considered that. "My father despises loose ends. Should he learn of Jon's bloodline, he might attempt to remove the problem." Oberyn nodded. "That is why we ride fast." Rain hammered the roof like fistfuls of gravel. Obara rose, retied her braid. "Storm's End is 3 days in this weather. If the King's Road is patrolled, we risk being cornered between garrison walls and sea cliffs. We move by river then," Oberyn decided. "Take barges at Griffin's Roost, drift to the Sea of Dorne, sail home." Tyrion grimaced. "I've grown weary of decks." Oberyn flashed a grin. "Better seasick than headless." On the wall, a wind howled like some giant wolf hungry beyond measure. Jon Snow stood atop the icy parapet, gloved hands gripping black stone, cloak snapping behind him. Below, the forest of the Haunted Lands rattled its bare fingers at a pewter sky. A raven perched upon the merlin near his boot, tilting its head. He reread the letter crumpled in his hand, a missive delivered by Maester Aemon that morning. "True honor sometimes cloaks itself in lies to shield the innocent. Your father loved fiercely. Boy, know that the blood in your veins is older, truer, and more powerful than any lord's decree. When winter breaks, Seek the dawn that rises in the south. There you will find answers. The parchment bore no seal, no name, only that cryptic guidance. Jon had taken each sentence apart like a puzzle, weighing possible meanings. He felt as though some invisible string tethered him suddenly to distances vast and unknown, drawn south toward suns he had never seen. Ghost prowled along the ice, red eyes following a swirl of snowflakes. Jon ran knuckles through the albino direwolf's fur, feeling the living warmth. What blood coursed in him? Bastard blood, yes, but whose other half? Footsteps crunched. Samwell Tarly lumbered up, cheeks ruddy. "Jon, there you are. Maester Aemon wishes to see you again." His voice quavered. "He looks troubled." Jon nodded, tucking the letter. "Thank you, Sam." He spun on heel, cloak billowing, mind a-whirl. Inside the warmth of the rookery, steam from boiling kettles misted glass arrow-slit windows. Aemon sat hunched near the brazier, gnarled fingers resting on a leather-wrapped tome. "You look north, but your heart stirs south, my son," the old maester croaked. "There is heat in you, heat not born of stark stone." Jon stiffened. "Why did you give me that letter? Who sent it?" "The truth sent it," said Aemon. "Truth the realm buried long. When I was young, I laid aside my name to serve. Others laid aside truth for power." Jon's pulse quickened. "Are you saying my father lied?" "I am saying," Aemon whispered, "that love sometimes makes liars of the honest." He pushed the tome across the table, a brittle book of genealogies dating before the conquest. "I have marked pages. Read tonight. But guard what you learn." Jon's fingers shook as he traced the book's edge. "Why now?" "Because winter is marching. Because dragon's fire may yet be needed to beat it back, and dragons are not merely beasts of scale." Aemon's clouded eyes shifted to some invisible horizon. "They are people, Jon. People born of fire and magic." Jon swallowed hard. Ghost pressed against his leg, sensing the tremor. By candlelight, Jon turned the pages. Aemon's scratches pointed him to tales of the Dragon Knight Aemon Targaryen, of Rhaegar, and a prophecy of the Song of Ice and Fire. Jon read of Rhaegar's tourney at Harrenhal, of a northern lady crowned Queen of Love and Beauty. He read of Lyanna Stark's disappearance, of whispers of a tower in Dorne, of 3 sets of bones returned to Winterfell, none confirmed by Maester's eyes. Each word rang against Ned Stark's unspoken stories, the gaps, the pain behind his father's gray eyes when asked about Jon's mother. An image rose. Ned atop the battlements of Winterfell, snow swirling, telling boy Jon, "When the next winter comes, you will want a warm cloak, and nothing else. No mother's name. Could it be?" Jon pressed palms to eyelids, vision swimming. If Rhaegar were his true father, what did that make him? King? Usurper? He felt as though ice melted within, revealing hidden flame. Auric horns echoed from atop the wall, 2 blasts for wildling scouts. Jon slammed the book, shoved it beneath a quilt, and pounded down the steps to the yard where men scrambled to arms. He would guard the wall as sworn, but inside he felt a door opening, and southward across 700 miles. A spear lay waiting in the hands of a prince he had never met. Thunder rolled over the Sea of Dorne as Oberyn's 2-masted galley cut through whitecaps beneath moonless skies. The deck pitched, waves slapped hull. Tyrion clutched a rail, green about the gills. Obara laughed at him, braced astride the bowsprit like a gull. Oberyn stood aft, oilskin cloak whipping, eyes fixed on the dark blur of coast. Lights winked along cliffs where watchtowers blazed signal beacons. Sunspear welcomed her lost son. Salt spray tasted of home. Illyria joined him, hair plastered. "You left King's Landing alive, but do you feel free?" "Freedom is an illusion," Oberyn said softly. "Yet the illusion warms." A boom cracked. Sailors shifted sails. Tyene secured the raven cage. Nymeria calculated distance to shore by a sextant's faint glimmer. In Oberyn's belt pouch lay a second letter from Varys, delivered by a gull at Sea Dragon Point hours earlier. "The lion guards a cub of winter. If you roar too soon, the cub will bleed. Patience, my prince. Let fire meet frost in its season." Oberyn crushed the paper, but kept it. Patience. He had wielded patience like a stiletto for 15 years. Justice had required it. Kings burned on slower fires than men. Yet he felt time racing, a storm behind his keel. Blood redeems blood, he thought. Aegon, Rhaenys, Elia. For them. For the boy at the wall. He rested a hand on spear haft. Across the sea, dragons stirred in rumor. Across the snows, an army of dead gathered unseen. For now he sailed to Sunspear, but his gaze pierced leagues and years, mapping battles yet unfought. Prince Doran received them at the Shadow City gate, mounted upon a palanquin borne by 8 guards. His joints swollen, his face gaunt yet serene. Doran embraced Oberyn fiercely, though pain contorted features. "You slew the mountain," he whispered. "I feared I would not live to see that day." Oberyn felt tears sting, salting sweat. "I slew him for her," he said, voice hoarse. "But there is more." They spoke that night in a lantern-lit solar over figs and goat cheese, with the sand snakes ranged around. Tyrion wore borrowed Martell robes, listening keenly while sipping syrupy sweet wine. Oberyn told of the letter of Jon Snow, of Maester Aemon's cryptic wisdom and Varys's webs. He laid bare the plan, to secure Dorne's armies for eventual alliance with the rightful dragon heir, to hold the boy's secret until Daenerys's dragons might cross the sea, to break the Lannister grip by truth and spear alike. Doran nodded, fingers steepled. "For years I have waited to avenge Elia without dooming our people. Viserys was too brittle. Daenerys may be the storm. If her nephew lives, 2 heads of the dragon breathe at once. That matches the prophecy." Tyrion cleared throat. 3 heads, some say. Doran glanced. "And you seek the saddle of the 3rd, imp?" Tyrion raised his cup. "I can scarcely ride a donkey, but I can ride a plot." Oberyn smiled. "Plots have teeth. I've fewer teeth than you." Tyrion winked. Illyria spread a map across the table. The 7 kingdoms, the Narrow Sea, Slaver's Bay. Nymeria placed a pearl at Meereen. Obara placed a garnet at Winterfell. Tyene set a shard of purple amethyst on King's Landing. Oberyn planted the tip of his spear in the sands of Sunspear. "We will weave a ladder of fire," he declared. "Flame in the east, flame in the snow, flame in the heart of lions. When all burns, Dorne shall choose what rises from the ash." In the citadel of Old Town, far to the west, a novice in green and brown robes sat at a dusty desk poring over forbidden scrolls. His skin was parchment pale. A link of copper glimmered at his throat, though he lacked the right to wear it. Candle guttered. Pate, though he no longer called himself that, copied a passage about the prince that was promised into a fresh blank book bound in cracked leather. Footsteps neared. He blew on the ink, closed the tome, and hid it beneath loose floorboards. Marwyn the mage, broad of shoulder and stinking of foul leaf, stepped in. "Reading late again, boy? What secrets nibble your mind?" Marwyn's smile showed broken teeth. "Merely histories of dragons, Archmaester. The dragons are not history, they are prophecy." Marwyn's eyes burned. "Do you dream of them?" "I dream of ice," the novice answered, voice trembling. "Ice that burns." Marwyn grunted. "Keep dreaming. The world will need such dreams soon." He turned to leave, then paused. Word from Volantis whispers of a young queen with 3 monsters of flame. If that is true, the dead in the north will howl. When they do, the wall of men will fail. The novice's pulse quickened. His hand drifted to the floorboard. "Then we must aid them?" Marwyn's laugh echoed. "The maesters will not, but I perhaps." He strode out, cloak swirling. Left alone, Pate lifted the loose board, extracted the book, and opened to his notes on Jon Snow. A name was circled in fresh ink: Aemon Targaryen. He dipped quill and wrote beneath, "If the blood of the dragon hides at the wall, then the wall of ice is not alone. Fire walks cloaked in frost." Back in Sunspear, Oberyn stood atop the Tower of the Sun at dusk, palms on warm stone. Down below, markets hummed, spices perfumed the sea breeze, and gulls wheeled over copper-tiled roofs. Oberyn drilled sand snakes in spearwork on the training terrace. Their cries rose like war chants. Tyrion sat among them, offering pointers between gulps of pomegranate wine and complaining of blisters. Oberyn's gaze turned north, beyond orange dunes and pale hills, past the red mountains. He imagined a line of flickering torches through snow, Night's Watchmen marching. Jon Snow at their head, sword Longclaw glinting. A soft footstep. Doran eased beside him, leaning on an ivory cane. "It begins," the Prince of Dorne said. Oberyn inclined his head. "It has always begun. We merely join the dance late. Then dance well." Doran's tired eyes shone. "For Elia. For her." Oberyn lifted his spear, its shadow stretching like a sundial. "And for the boy." Wind ruffled his braid, carrying scents of salt and bitter oranges. He closed his eyes, listened to gulls, to sea, to the distant hush of desert. In that sound, he heard heartbeats. Elia's, Rhaegar's, Jon's, Daenerys's, his own, merging in a rhythm older than thrones. Night bled across the sky like spilt ink. Oberyn opened his eyes to the first star, bright, cold, unwavering, and felt its light strike the spearhead, setting the metal aflame. The viper had shed his skin. Beneath waited the dragon. Darkness slid over Sunspear like a velvet shroud stitched with the noise of the Shadow City winding down. Mule bells chimed, shutters slammed. A lute plucked some half-remembered Volantine lament in a tavern 2 streets away. In the high solar, the only light came from fat orange candles guttering in mirrored sconces. They painted long, wavering flames across Oberyn's bronze mail as he leaned over Prince Doran's map table. Tiny dragonglass shards served as markers. Amber for Martell hosts, milk white for allies, deep red for threats. The shards glittered around an ivory miniature of Sunspear, while to the north a crimson scatter trailed along the King's Road and pooled thickly at King's Landing. A single blood-red sliver sat far above, at the wall, solitary and ominous. Tyene and Nymeria stood at their father's shoulders. Oberyn paced a restless crescent behind, spear but thunking softly against the patterned tiles. Tyrion lounged on a cushioned bench, gnawing on a pomegranate seed cake and pretending to be uninterested in anything beyond the next crumb, though his black eyes missed nothing. Prince Doran reclined in his wheeled chair, hands steepled over swollen knees, the faint hiss of his breathing the only sound until Oberyn spoke. "Tywin's envoy will dock by dawn tide," he said, voice low but hot. "Ser Kevan in person, escorted by 400 men-at-arms, 100 crossbows, and a litter with wheels big as millstones, perhaps to impress us with Lannister craftsmanship." Tyrion swallowed and dabbed crumbs from his beard. "My uncle travels with maesters and accountants. He will itemize regrets like a grocer haggling over oranges. So many dragons for each corpse, an apology wrapped in parchment, and pretty words about joint prosperity and peace. Peace ends when lions grow hungry." Oberyn spun her spear in a sharp arc. Candle flames jumped. "Send Kevin's head back in the litter." Nymeria brushed a loose curl from her cheek. "Heads fetch little profit, ears fetch none. Let us hear his offer first. Information can fatten a purse better than coin." Doran's quiet cough drew every gaze. "We will hear Ser Kevan," he said, "but the mountain's crimes weigh heavier than gold. Elia's children were princes of royal blood. If Tywin values his house, he must buy forgiveness with something more precious." Tyrion tapped the red shard poised over the wall. "My father does not yet grasp how precious. He thinks this rumor of Rhaegar's son is Dornish fancy. Prove it, and you have his fear." Oberyn's fingers tightened on the table edge until his knuckles blanched. "Fear bleeds poorly into justice. We need proof, irrefutable, unassailable." Prince Doran's gaze shifted from brother to map. "Old Town," he murmured. "If any maester wrote Rhaegar's secrets, the citadel holds the ink." Silence spread like oil on water. Tyene's blue-green eyes glittered. Sneak into the citadel? The archmaesters would howl louder than September bells. Oberyn cracked her knuckles. "Archmaesters bleed the same color." "No," Oberyn said. "We bleed enemies when we must, but truth must stand on parchment, not corpses. I will ride to Old Town with a small company, speak with Marwyn the mage. He is no friend of White Chains. Nymeria frowned. That leaves Sunspear exposed to Kevin's silver tongue. Then Obara stays, Oberyn decided. She is spear and shield both. He looked to Doran. And you? The prince's voice was soft but iron. I remain. The Scorpion of Dorne need not leave his tower to kill. Tyrion raised his cup. A venomous counsel indeed. If you seek Old Town's secrets, you will need a dwarf's stealth. You'll be half a head taller than any cloak we wear, Tyene teased. Half a head shorter than any door you break. He shot back, grinning. Oberyn hid a smile. Very well, imp pack lightly. We leave on tomorrow's dusk tide. He swept the crimson shard from the wall and pocketed it, as though sealing some oath neither stone nor steel could touch. The next day dawned star-pale above the stepstones. In King's Landing, the Hand's solar rang with angry voices, and Tywin's was the coldest among them. You will remain, he commanded Cersei, whose face pulled tight like a lioness cornered by dogs. Sunspear must see this as olive branch, not threat. Your presence provokes. My presence, she scoffed, green eyes glinting. It is Oberyn's spear that provokes. He butchered Gregor. He butchered justice you unleashed, Tywin snapped. And now he holds every small folk's ear. We must contain this fire. Cersei folded her arms. Contain? We should drown Dorne in gold. Then iron. Gold we will send, not iron, Tywin said. Ser Kevan will speak of alliances. Meanwhile Qyburn prepares a quieter solution. Behind them, the former maester bowed, a thin smile curdling on dead lips. We traced the bastard at the wall, he murmured. Black cells carry long tongues. A company of sellswords disguised as trader's sails for Eastwatch. They carry crossbows laced with widow's blood. Cersei's shoulders eased. One arrow in a snow squall. Ned Stark's bastard dies with nary a whisper. Tywin's gaze flicked to a ledger where a raven preened. Kill the boy, but leave no scent pointing south. If Oberyn believes the boy slain by wildlings, he rails at ghosts while we bargain. He turned away. Outside the window, the sunrise bled crimson across the city roofs, gilding the spires of the great September. Tywin watched that color, so like the red of sunset, and felt older than the stones. For all his life he had forged order from chaos. But now dragon songs stirred in the ashes and chaos learned to sing in tune. Castle Black crouched under a bruised twilight sky, its chimneys belching smoke that vanished against the wall's higher shadows. Jon Snow stood in the yard with Longclaw Bear, teaching Satin-Frozen recruits the rhythm of parry and pivot. Frost crackled under every boot. When the hour's bell clanged, he sheathed the Valyrian blade and dismissed them. Sam met him on the steps to the King's Tower, breath misting. A ship docks at Eastwatch, he puffed. Cotter Pike sent word. Traders from Gulltown with oranges. Oranges this far north? Jon frowned. And silk bolts, Sam added. Strange, yes. Maester Aemon asked us to ride to Eastwatch tomorrow dawn. He fears something in the cargo. Jon's hand brushed the pommel that bore a snarling wolf. Since the letter, his dreams swirled with shadowed women wreathed in blue winter roses and men in red cloaks who screamed in foreign tongues. When he blinked awake, the wall still stood, yet he felt the world had tilted. Tell Dolorous Ed to ready horses, he said, and find Gren and PYP, we ride light. Sam shifted uneasily. Do you think this has to do with your mother? Jon stiffened. My father's secrets belong to the Snows, but the wind digs graves for secrets. That night, Ghost howled at the crescent moon. South again, a sapphire dawn cracked open as Ser Kevan's galley nosed into Sunspear's quays. Dockworkers halted at the glitter of lion banners. Crossbowmen lined the rails like silver pins. Kevan stood amidships in full plate chased with gold, face solemn. Beside him swayed Maester Pycelle, leaning heavily on a pomander-topped cane. Areo Hoda, his long axe restful across one shoulder, greeted them with the formality of a septon presiding over a funeral. Prince Doran awaits, he intoned. Follow. Through curled marble corridors they marched, 100 men clanging behind. Heat wilted the Lannister silks before they reached the water gardens, where breezes stirred cool fountain spray. Kevin paused at the sight of children splashing amid glittering arcades, but Areo pressed on, into the Tower of the Sun. Doran received them in the great hall hung with gold sun tapestries. Obara stood at his right in austere crimson leathers. Nymeria flanked his left in a velvet gown the color of ripe plums, parchment rolled beneath one arm. Kevin knelt, helm tucked under elbow. Your Highness, King Tommen extends his love and regrets. Ser Gregor's actions were commanded by your brother, Obara interrupted. We know. Doran raised a placating hand. Speak your proposal, Lord Kevin. Pycelle cleared his throat like a rusty hinge. The crown offers 100,000 dragons for each royal child of Princess Elia, as well as trade concessions. Dornish wine exempted from harbor tariffs, and Nymeria unfurled her scroll with a whip crack. And what of justice for the woman herself? Kevin hesitated. Ser Gregor was condemned. By poison you call dishonor, Obara barked. Doran exhaled softly. Gold may patch wounds, but wounds fester when truth is buried. We request access to the Red Keep's sealed records, specifically those of the year of Robert's rebellion. Letters, ledgers of the Keepers of Keys, anything bearing Rhaegar's hand. Provide them and we consider amity. Pycelle's jowls quivered. Those archives are old, Obara finished, and old secrets may save young kings. Kevin realized then the shape of their game. You suspect what precisely? Nymeria's smile was wintercool. That dragons still breathe. The envoy ended with neither accord nor insult, only unease. That night Kevin sent a raven south. The snake coils but has not struck. His rattle is prophecy, not demand. Tywin read it and felt the hair on his neck prickle like a cat before lightning. Wind snarled across the shivering sea as a trader cog called Sparrowhawk tacked toward Eastwatch. On its deck 8 men lounged, garbed as petty merchants, though the crossbow bolts hidden in their cargo reeked of widow's blood. The leader, a gaunt sellsword named Haxo, fingered a black-feathered coral. A bastard in black, he murmured. In a squall no one hears the string loose. Below decks, barrels sloshed with bitumen to burn the ship after the deed.
No witnesses, no tongues.
On a bunk near the stern, an aged steward snored. He wore Eastwatch gray, but his eyes, when open, were milky blind. Haxo never gave him a second glance, certain the man useless. Had he listened closer, he would have heard Maester Aemon's soft prayer. Let the dragon of winter find refuge in the snow until the dawn. Oberyn's party rode under moonlight through the foothills of the Red Mountains, 6 riders cloaked in ash-colored linen to blend with scree and cactus. The air smelled of sage and cracked rock. At their head, Oberyn guided a pale sandsteed mare, a venom-green scarf hiding his braid. Tyrion jostled behind Tyene, grumbling each time saddle leather bit his thighs. Dawn found them at Ghost Hill, where warm springs steamed around ruins of a Valyrian watchtower. They dismounted near a moss-slick obelisk. Tyene scanned the horizon, only vultures riding thermals, and the gleam of copper 40 leagues east where the sea rubbed the desert's hem. Oberyn crouched beside ancient basalt blocks scored with glyphs. When the doom came, dragons here turned to stone, he said. Yet their bones remember flame. Tyrion wiped sweat from brow. Do you always speak in riddles before breakfast? Only before battle. Oberyn stood. We crossed the Starwater at dusk, pass Ironwood under guise of spice merchants, then south to the coastal road. If spies follow, they will expect us toward King's Landing, not Old Town. Tyene tossed him a wineskin, and once in Old Town, Marwyn will guide us beneath citadel vaults. He sipped. If parchment proves Rhaegar fathered Lyanna's boy, we carve the words into iron and send a shard to every great house. Tyrion raised brows. You truly wish to light the realm with wildfire? No, Oberyn said. I wish to light it with truth. Fire is merely the messenger. At Eastwatch's stone pier, Snow blew sideways as Jon dismounted, cloak snapping. Cotter Pike scowled over the rampart. Traders came at dusk, left before dawn. Said winds favored early tide. Took on no fresh water, refused warm beds. Odd for merchants hauling oranges. Jon's breath smoked. Course they set. South by west. Pike spat. Left a crate of silk to sweeten deals next voyage, but wouldn't sample stew. He jerked his head. Maester Harmune found bolt slots in the crate's false bottom.
Sam blinked.
Crossbows, bolts soaked in something foul. Pike shivered. Smelled like rank copper. Widow's blood. Jon tasted the name like ash. They aimed for a lord with no maester to heal him. He looked to the roiling gray sea. The Sparrowhawk was a speck on that water now, but Eastwatch's galleys sat ready. Jon turned to Pike. Any swift ships crewed by men you trust? Pike's grin was jagged. The Blackbird outruns gulls in fair wind. Crew her. I sail.
Sam squeaked.
Sail and do what? Jon's hand settled on Longclaw. Show would-be killers that bastards bite. Ghosts' howl echoed across icy surf. The citadel of Old Town loomed at sundown 3 days later, ringed with copper rooftops, honeycombed with windows that glowed amber in sea haze. Oberyn's band entered through the Ragman's harbor, leading mules laden with sacks of saffron and dragon peppers. The air carried gull shrieks and fish awful stink. Marwyn met them at the Quill and Tankard, a tavern built around an ancient weirwood tree whose pale branches split the rafters. He wore whale leather jerkin and a chain of base metals no archmaester condoned. His smile showed broken teeth and a hunger for truths forbidden. "Prince of Dorne," he rasped, clasping Oberyn's forearm. "You bring spice enough to bribe half Old Town." "Knowledge is dearer," Oberyn said. "Lead us, mage." They drank black cask rum while night cocooned the river. Marwyn laid out the path, through the scribe's hearth, down a winding stair sealed since Aegon's landing, to a vault where scrolls deemed dangerous slumbered behind lead-banded doors. Keys unknown to archmaesters, yet Marwyn owned waxen impressions. Tyene leaned close to Oberyn once the plan was drawn. "If we're caught, gallows. Long as truth swings with us," he whispered. Tyrion licked rum from his mustache. "I prefer swaying in hammocks myself." That midnight, they donned gray novices' robes and slipped across torchlit courtyards. A bell tolled first watch as they descended damp stairs smelling of mold and secrets. At the third landing, Marwyn pressed a sigil-stamped brick. A panel slid, revealing a tunnel floored in black marble flecked with red veins like congealed blood. No torches burned. Marwyn lit a glass rod filled with phosphorescent fire rumored to come from Ass High. The light played over walls carved with spiraling script older than Valyria. Tyrion traced a line. "Children of the forest?" "Older," Marwyn muttered, voice echoing. "Older than light." Down 20 stone steps, they reached a circular door bound in tarnished silver. A copper lock, 3 tumblers. Marwyn produced a hooked tool, whispered words in High Valyrian. The tumblers clicked. The door breathed dust. Inside, parchment scrolls lay stacked in cedar chests, seals unbroken for a century. The air tasted of dry leaves and lamp oil long evaporated. Oberyn's pulse drummed like war. Tyene slit wax, unrolled the first scroll. "Treaty between King Jaehaerys and Winterfell," she read. "Not ours." More chests cracked open. Ravings of a mad maester on ice dragons. A compilation of wildfire recipes. A letter from Summerhall before it burned. At last Nymeria unsealed a narrow ivory cylinder embossed with the sigil of the Tower of Joy, a 7-pointed star above a sword. She read aloud by phosphor light. "By my hand, Arthur Dane, Lord of the Morning, do swear before 7 that the child born of Prince Rhaegar and Lady Lyanna this day is named Aemon, shielded by scripture of the Kingsguard until such time as prophecy unveils. Let no harm reach him. Let no crown touch him until the dawn." Oberyn's breath hitched like a galloped horse. His fist closed. There, in Squireneat script, Arthur Dane's signature curved beneath. And 3 more. Ser Oswell went, Ser Gerald Hightower, and shock froze his gut. Eddard Stark, in careful plain letters, witness. Tyrion released a sound between gasp and laughter. There it is. Dragon and wolf. Marwyn snapped the cylinder shut. Copies will be made before dawn. Footsteps rasped above. Voices. Tyene snuffed the light. Blackness swallowed them. A gate clanged somewhere distant. Nymeria's hand found Oberyn's. In darkness he felt her tremble. Whether from fear or triumph he could not tell. But steel whined as Obara drew her dagger. Torchlight flared beyond the door. Outlines of archmesters, wiry acolytes, and the pale cowled figure of Pate. Though his eyes glimmered with resolve, not fear, Marwyn strode forward into the light, chain clinking. "This knowledge is doom if buried," he declared. "Let it breathe." The seneschal of the citadel, plump as a pigeon, quavered. "You trespass upon hallowed lies." Oberyn stepped beside Marwyn, voice slicing like desert wind. 10,000 died to hide these words. No more. He held up the scroll. Gasps skittered through ranks of novices. Pate's voice rose firm. "Truth belongs to the realm, not vaults." Steel whispered as guards drew short swords. Tyene leveled twin daggers like viper fangs. Tyrion cursed softly. Then a deeper bell told 1, 2, 3, echoing down corridors. The seneschal paled. "Grey plague," he breathed. Marwyn's laughter boomed. "No, the citadel itself rings. Someone has lit blackfire in the Ravenry. News of dragons hatching across the sea." He pointed at the archmesters. "You sit on books while the world burns." In that chaos, no blade crossed. The seneschal sputtered for order. Novices darted. Oberyn folded the scroll within his jerkin. "We leave," he told Tyene. "Blood now helps none." They slipped away amid clamor, upstairs into moonlit cloisters. Tyene barred a door behind with an iron rod. Tyrion exhaled. "I dislike nearly dying on empty stomach." "Live until breakfast," Oberyn said. "We ride north by prow and or come dawn." Dawn's first pale ribbon gleamed over the Bay of Crabs when the Sparrowhawk sighted Blackbird bearing down from northeast. Jon stood at the Blackbird's prow, black hair whipped, ghost poised beside him, teeth gleaming. The cell's word Haxo cursed. The Blackbird rammed at an angle. Sailors flung grappling hooks. Jon vaulted rail the moment his deckhouse kissed Sparrowhawks. Longclaw flashed, severing a rigging line. 2 assassins staggered back. Haxo loosed a quarrel. Ghost leapt, jaws clamping wrist. Bone cracked. Jon drove Longclaw through the man's breast. Widow's blood vials shattered in the hold as casks tumbled during melee. Flames licked where a lantern fell. Bitumen caught. Sam, white-faced but resolute, hacked rigging with an axe, freeing Blackbird as Sparrowhawk ignited. Wind howled, fanning orange plumes. Jon dragged a wounded deckhand to safety before leaping to Blackbird's rail. Behind, flaming sails collapsed like wings of a dying phoenix. On the return voyage, Jon questioned a surviving assassin through blood-bubbled lips. The man muttered of gold lion coins, an old maester named Qyburn, and a letter written by the hand himself. Jon's blood froze harder than the sea. He stared north to the wall, south to storms of war, and felt like the world's fulcrum. Somewhere far off he IMA. Jinned a prince in scarlet riding toward him, bearing truths sharp as spears. Oberyn's galley, Stormkisser, streaked up the coast, foam slicing her hull. A storm brewed black on the western horizon, thunderheads piled like mountains. Tyene tightened sail lashings. Tyrion steadied quill over vellum, drafting copies of the Tower of Joy affidavit in copperplate script. Marwyn etched a ciphered version onto lead sheets for ravens that could not burn. From the forecastle, Oberyn watched Whitecap smash, spray salting his lashes. He felt the scroll's heavy truth pressing against his ribs. Proof. It would set kingdoms ablaze unless smothered first. They must reach Sunspear, rally Dorne, and send riders to the Eyrie to Riverrun, perhaps even to Stannis on Dragonstone. The north, though, Ned's bannermen would need more than parchment. A gust tore through, shivering the mast. Tyene hollered orders. Sailors scrambled. Stormkisser heeled. Waves hammered timbers. Thunder boomed overhead. Oberyn braced feet wide, laughing into wind's roar. A laugh of defiance, of life burning bright against the dark. Rain lashed like pebbles, but he saw, for a heartbeat, ghostly shapes amid the clouds. A dragon coiled around a spear, a wolf crowned with frost, a sunburst bleeding light. Omens or illusion he could not know, but the storm inside him was fiercer. When the mast straightened and the crew cheered, he turned to Tyrion drenched and gasping. "Write another letter," Oberyn called above the gale, "to Lord Commander Mormont. Tell him serpents and lions circle his pup. Tell him Winter's bastard is no bastard at all." Tyrion spat seawater. "And how should I sign such heresy?" Oberyn's smile flashed white. "Signed, the brother of the boy's blood." Lightning ripped sky to tatters, and thunder swallowed the deck, but his words rang clear. In the red keep's dim rookery, ravens flapped restless as if sensing coming storms. Qyburn's gloved hands trembled faintly while he bound a parchment to ebony feathers. Tywin watched, shadowed. "Another message to Pike?" "East Watch reports failure," Qyburn admitted. "The bastard lives." Tywin's jaw worked. "Then we try again." Cersei entered, silk whispering. "No," she said, eyes ablaze. "We butcher the vipers first. Cut off the head in Dorne, the tail in Old Town, every fong. Then the boy starves of allies." Tywin glanced at his daughter, saw not grief but fury sharpened to a spear. He thought of Ares before the wildfire. Madness sometimes wore the mask of righteous wrath. Yet he nodded. "Send Ser Adam Marbrand with 5,000 Westermen. Secure the prince's pass before Oberyn returns. We will hold his door shut with shields until he yields or bursts." Cersei smiled a smile to chill summer. Qyburn bowed. Outside, the bells of the great September tolled for evening prayer. Where one bell tolled, another answered across leagues. In Old Town, in Sunspear, in the stony fastness of Winterfell ruins where a gray direwolf nosed ash drifting like snow. The realm rang with uneasy music, each note a promise of battles yet unfought. At Castle Black, Jon knelt before Jeor Mormont in the Lord Commander's quarters. Ghost watched from the hearth, eyes twin embers. Mormont read the assassin's confession, face stone. "The Lannisters send murder north while we fight dead things in the woods. They fear you, boy." Jon met the old bear's eyes. "Fear what I may be. Do you?" Mormont asked. Jon's voice came quiet. "I fear failing." Mormont grunted. "Then don't. The wall needs men, not kings. Yet if the realm claims you, I won't nail your feet to ice." Behind them a raven croaked. "Snow, snow, snow." Jon drew a breath full of cold smoke and old wood. "I swore oath." "Your father once broke oaths to save a child," Mormont said softly. "You must choose which pledge weighs more." In the corridors, the wind bore tidings from the sea, storm-racked, salt-scoured. Jon rose, gripping Longclaw. Somewhere beyond that wind a spear flashed red and gold, pointing south, pointing home, though he had never seen it. Stormkisser slid into Sunspear's night-draped harbor under battered sails. Lanterns bobbed, reflecting ripples like molten brass. When Oberyn disembarked, scroll tight in fist, Areo Hoda met him with grim news. Lannister banners mass at the pass.
Ser Adam marches.
Oberyn's laughter pealed. "Let him come. We will greet lions with dragonfire." He strode up the quay, Tyene and Tyrion at his back, Marwyn clutching lead plate copies. Overhead, clouds shredded to reveal 3 bright stars forming a dagger pointed north. In the Shadow City, children whispered that a new constellation had been born. As Oberyn passed, he whispered to the scroll, "For you, Aemon Targaryen, son of fire and ice, may your name burn long after mine is dust." Far east, beyond the Jade Sea, Daenerys Stormborn walked balcony edge in Meereen's Great Pyramid, Drogon's distant roar vibrating the bricks. Ser Barristan handed her a scroll inked in cipher. She read of a Dornish prince who had uncovered a secret child of her brother, hidden on the wall among black cloaks. Her heart hammered like a war drum. She lifted gaze to stars, to where someday her dragons would fly. "Blood of my blood," she whispered, voice trembling with hope and dread. "I will not come alone." Below, in the dark, armies gathered, banners unfurled, promises sharpened. In the deeps beyond mortal sight, ice giants stirred to silent drums, and fire in dragon-scale hearts answered. The Game of Thrones began anew, pieces reset on an older board. Spear, wolf, dragon, lion. Each marked a corner of the sky, and between them the world held its breath, waiting for dawn or doom.